What's up? Welcome into your daily Buckeye Blitz. Not mine, it's yours. Take it. We're a Wednesday, December 28th, 2022. I'm your host, Joe from the Buckeye Cast. Hope you joined us last night for our TBC Weekly live show on YouTube. If you didn't, you can always go back and check it out again on our YouTube channel, the Buckeye Cast. You can also listen to it in podcast form if you don't have time to watch. So today we're getting closer. It's Wednesday. We're getting closer to game day. We're breaking down this game, getting into some specific position groups. Today I want to talk about offensive positions. So let's talk quarterbacks. Ohio State versus Georgia, CJ versus Stetson Bennett. We're going to go down the position groups here for both offenses, okay? Let's see how we match up, how we compare and contrast. So starting off with the quarterbacks, at number one, QB1's most important position on the field. CJ Stroud versus Stetson Bennett. Oh, the guy's named after a cowboy hat. You know that? Stetson. Pretty sweet. Anyway, before I get started, I do need to say I have a ton of respect for the Georgia program. Kirby Smart has done a great job. He's built up that program in a relatively short amount of time. So please don't take anything personal if it sounds like I slighted Georgia. I don't need more Georgia fans coming at me. I have no disrespect in my heart for Georgia. We haven't even played you guys in like freaking 30 years. So please take that into account before we get into this. All right. I think you're going to see that these are two teams that really are mirror images. They're almost identical, in many ways. So let's get into it. Like I said, CJ versus Stetson Bennett, the number one overall NFL draft pick, or at least top 10 pick, versus a proven winner who gets the job done, has the hardware in Stetson Bennett, has the national championship ring already. So that's what we're looking at. CJ can dissect any defense. If he gets the time, he can accurately dissect any defense, and he can read any defense and make every throw. A key, obviously, if he gets the time. Now, you got Stetson Bennett, doesn't have the arm talent that CJ Stroud has. I don't think that's a wild statement to make, but Bennett keeps the chains moving. He's not a game manager. He makes plays, gets first downs, gets 4, 5, 6, 7 yards on the ground if he has to, if nobody's open downfield. So the Buckeye defense is going to have to account for that, right? So very contrasting styles, but their numbers, their stats are almost identical. So let's look at running backs. Georgia, you got Kenny McIntosh, Kendall Milton, and Dwan Edwards. I don't know how to say that. Dejon Edwards. Anyway, sorry. Then you got for the Buckeyes, Maya Williams, Chip Trainum, and Dallin Hayden in no particular order. No Travion. That should be noted if you're not aware of that yet. Travion is out, had surgery on his foot. He probably won't even be back till maybe the spring game at earliest, and they'll probably hold him out of that anyway. But anyways, both teams have relatively deep running back rooms. Like I just named off their top 3 running backs here. So Ohio State still, though, has health issues. You got Chip Trainum, the former linebacker, coming over to help beef up that running back room. So with no Travion, that puts the Buckeye running back room down a man, and that's a huge loss, honestly. So I think you got to give this Georgia running back room the edge with McIntosh. He's been running really hard lately towards the end of the season. And you got Edwards and Milton. They've both chipped in. But McIntosh is a do-it-all kind of guy, man. This guy's impressive. He leads Georgia in PFF receiving grade of everybody, receivers, tight ends, everybody. He has rushing the ball. He has over 700 yards, 10 touchdowns, and an 82.5 PFF grade. Kendall Milton, Buckeyes remember him from recruiting, of course. 535 on the ground, 7 TDs, and an 84.6 PFF grade as a runner. So compare that to Mayan Williams. Again, Mayan missed a few games, especially towards the latter end of the season. 817 yards, 13 touchdowns, and a 90.9 PFF grade. And then Dallin Hayden, 510 yards, 5 touchdowns, and an 80.4 PFF grade. These are rushing grades, okay? It doesn't include pass blocking and things like that, just strictly as a running back, running the ball. So very similar production. Again, like I said, you're going to see a mirror image in many cases as we go through these positions. So almost equal there. And again, being without Travion Henderson definitely is hurts the Buckeyes, to not have him. Definitely. All right. Wide receivers. Probably everybody is already saying in their head, Buckeyes win this one, right? Yeah, no shit, hands down. I don't think you're going to get much argument from anybody. So Georgia has Ladd McConkey, A.D. Mitchell, and Marcus Rosemead, Jack Saint. And then the Buckeyes have Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, Emeka Egbuka, and Julian Fleming. Marv obviously is the best receiver in the country. No, don't try and argue that. Emeka Egbuka has over 1,000 yards, and a weapon when you try and double Marv, Egbuka will make you pay. Now I will say for Georgia McConkey, he's made plays all year. He's a slashing, smaller guy. He's got speed coming out his ears, but he did ding his knee in the SEC title game. So keep that in mind. You got to assume that he's better, or at least close to 100% by now. And then A.D. Mitchell, he's healthy, and the Rosemead Jackson guy. Don't know much about him, but he seems to be just steady Eddie. Not a lot of flash in his game from what I can tell. So let's go to tight ends. So just as we talked about, the receivers are probably an easy Ohio State edge. Tight ends are an easy Georgia edge, right? You got Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, of course. Buckeyes, you got Cade Stover, G. Scott Jr., Mitch Rossi. And I'm not going to argue that Georgia's tight ends are the best in the country. Brock Bowers is just a matchup nightmare for anybody, no matter who you try and put on him, with size and speed. And Washington is a monster. He's as a receiver and as a blocker. The guy does it all. So like 6'7", jeez. Excuse me. Bowers and Washington lead their team in PFF receiving grades. So obviously they're the focal point in the throw game. Also mix in McIntosh there. Like I said, he leads the entire team in PFF receiving. So the Buckeyes have Cade Stover. I mean, that's about it. He's been inconsistent lately, and started off pretty hot, making contested catches early in the year, doing his job, getting blocks, but he's had trouble blocking. We've seen him a million times miss those edge blocks on the screens to the receivers. So yeah, not really a fair comparison there. So edge to Georgia on the tight ends. O-line. Now this is where it gets interesting. Georgia has allowed 7 sacks in 13 games. So they played an extra game, right? Buckeyes have allowed 8 in 12 games. Georgia averages 207 on the ground per game. Buckeyes average 199 on the ground per game. So again, almost identical in those stats. And they have very even, very close PFF grades in the pass game. So the weak points, I would say, are Donovan Jackson for Ohio State. He's allowed 2 sacks on the year. And Xavier Truss, both these guys are guards, by the way, should be noted, has allowed 11 pressures, but no sacks. So those are the guys that have given up the pressure. OSU does have the edge in the running game, according to the PFF grades. So as you factor out, all 5 starters, Ohio State's running grades, not passing, their running grades are actually much better than Georgia's. So let's see how that translates. Even though Ohio State is down a starter in the running back room, can the O-line still get push and move that line of scrimmage, right? Okay. So that's it for today. Tomorrow, we're going to get into defense. We're going to compare all the defensive positions. And then Friday, we're going to do specific player matchups, receivers versus DBs, running backs versus linebackers, things like that, and safeties and everything. We're going to mix them all up and see who's going to be matched up on who, most likely, and get this thing wound up for Saturday night. As always, appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Go Bucks.